By the time Robbi Mecus died a year ago, she had become one of the Adirondacks' most respected forest rangers. She was the de facto spokesperson to talk about daring and dangerous rescues with the media. She gave talks about her work in public and about being trans. Those sides of her life came together this week on Trans Day of Visibility, when New York State remembered her life and legacy. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Clarkson University, offering over 95 programs of study with campuses in the Hudson Valley, Central, and Northern New York. More at clarkson.edu.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Friday, sweet Friday, April 4th. First up, federal immigration officials arrested 2 workers from a St. Lawrence County dairy farm last week. Court documents say agents from the Department of Homeland Security went to Flack Farms in Lisbon to inspect employee documentation. Agents say they determined that 8 workers on the farm were unauthorized to be in the U.S. 2 of them were taken to the Ogdensburg Border Patrol station. Both had previously been deported from the U.S. Court documents did not reveal the status of the other 6 workers. Federal officials had visited Flack Farms to check on the legal status of its workers in the past. The farm had received a warning for I-9 form violations last year, according to court documents. Farm employers use that form to verify workers' identity and employment eligibility. Employers, however, are not required to be document authenticity experts. If the paperwork looks to be in order and authentic, employers must accept them because refusal could lead to discrimination claims. The detention in Lisbon came around the same time that 7 people, including 3 children, were detained on a dairy farm in Jefferson County. Researchers at SUNY Canton are experimenting with new materials that could make houses more resistant to natural disasters. Our news intern Richard Haller reports.
You get it? 46055? In a lab, civil and environmental engineering students at SUNY Canton are testing the strength of concrete by breaking cylinders in a hydraulic press. It basically tells you how many pounds it takes to actually crush the piece of concrete in there, the cylinder in there.
Use of lightweight concrete with GFRP is totally new. I don't want to say we are the first institute that working on that, no, but a few research has been done.
That's Associate Professor Saeed Hassi Ghassamali. He says houses built from lightweight concrete reinforced with glass fiber are more durable than the industry standard of concrete backed by steel. That's because glass fiber doesn't conduct electricity or rust. Ghassamali says these homes can also withstand high temperatures and don't burn like wood, making them more resistant to wildfires and other natural disasters.
So that's why, in the long term, for sure the maintenance and the costs will be lower.
However, the United States Housing Code doesn't include provisions for using these materials. Ghassamali hopes they'll update the code due to this new research for the next revision.
I am a member of that code. The revision is every, I would say, 4 years or 5 years. They revise the code.
This research from SUNY Canton suggests that a revision to the building code could improve the way we construct our homes. Ghassamali says the difference could help communities rebuild from natural disasters like the wildfires that burned down more than 10,000 homes and businesses in Los Angeles. I'm Richard Haller, North Country Public Radio.
Big congrats to SUNY Canton's Richard Haller for getting his first story on the radio. The first of many, I bet. He's a good egg. It's been nearly a year since forest ranger Robbi Mecus died while ice climbing in Alaska. Mecus was a trans woman and a leader among rangers in the Adirondacks. Trans Day of Visibility was earlier this week, and the State Department of Environmental Conservation marked the occasion by raising a pride flag and honoring Mecus's legacy. Emily Russell reports.
Wednesday was cold and windy in the Adirondacks. Still, nearly 100 people bundled up and gathered outside the DEC headquarters in Ray Brook. The crowd went quiet as a group of forest rangers marched out in front of them.
Left, 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 right.
They walked towards the flagpole and began unfolding 3 flags.
Post the colors.
First, they hung the American flag, then the New York State flag. Finally, the Rangers hung what's known as the Progress Pride flag. It has rainbow stripes, then black and brown stripes, and then a triangle of white, pink, and light blue for the trans community. Once the flag was raised, the DEC's acting commissioner, Amanda Lefton, walked up to the podium.
If you'll all join me in a moment of silence in honor of Ranger Robbi Mecus.
Mecus worked as a forest ranger for 25 years. She spent most of her career in the Adirondacks. When she wasn't working, she was often climbing. Last spring, she went ice climbing in Alaska, where she suffered a fatal accident. She was 52 years old. Lefton, who took the helm of the DEC about a month ago, never knew Mecus, but said she's learned a lot recently from folks who did.
As I talk to people across the agency and have seen how much she has meant to them and how much she meant to this community and to this agency, it is really an honor to be here today to recognize her and her contributions.
Mecus played a key role in some of the biggest rescues in the Adirondack High Peaks in the last decade. She also pioneered the Rangers' technical rope program and formed a key connection with the local climbing community. She was also an outspoken advocate for the LGBTQ+ community. That community has increasingly come under attack since President Donald Trump took office. He's signed several executive orders that erase trans people from federal policies. At Wednesday's flag raising, Lefton said the DEC has a role to play in this moment.
We're living in a world right now where there's fear and there's challenge. And as a land manager, as a big agency here at DEC, it's critical that we are allies to show that these lands are for everyone and everyone is welcome here.
Mecus helped spread that message through her activism. She helped organize the annual Queer Ice Climbing Festival and mentored other queer climbers around the region. Mecus left a huge mark on this community, and many folks who knew her came out on Wednesday to honor her legacy. One person who was really close to her was Forest Ranger Chuck Cabral.
Robbi believed strongly in making our division better for the next generation of Rangers, owning our shortcomings, putting in the work to be better.
Mecus regularly taught the recruits at the Ranger Academy. She was also known as one of the best rangers in the state. But as Cabral said, Mecus was more than that.
She was a nerd, an athlete, a hippie, a metalhead, and a proud, dedicated parent.
Mecus's young daughter was in the crowd on Wednesday, her mother's arms wrapped around her. Mecus didn't come out to her family, friends, or fellow forest rangers until she was in her mid-40s. Cabral said that moment was eye-opening for him.
And I'd always supported LGBTQ rights, but I hadn't really considered trans rights an issue for me, or my issue, because I didn't know anyone that was trans. Except that I did. I just didn't know it.
According to the latest census data, there are more than 2 million trans people in the U.S. and more than 4 million people who identify as non-binary. New York State and the DEC first recognized Trans Day of Visibility last year. This year's event lasted just 15 minutes. Afterward, folks caught up with friends and other rangers in the crowd. It's been nearly a year since Mecus's death, but rangers like Andrew Lewis say her absence is still deeply felt.
Losing her as a source of inspiration and motivation is huge, and her technical expertise, for me personally, knowing we were going to tackle something technical that day, if I was with Robbi, I felt safe and knew that everything was going to be just fine and I was going to learn a lot.
You can't replace 25 years of strength and skill and passion for this job, but Lewis is an example of someone who Mecus mentored. She passed on her expertise to a lot of rangers in the division. And Lewis said she made a broader impact on the DEC. This event was an example of that.
I feel like it's a testament to her efforts in her experience transitioning, and what she put forth in this division led directly to this day, in my opinion. I think she's one of the key leaders that is making these types of things possible now.
Mecus changed so many people's lives in the Adirondacks, from the folks she helped save in the mountains to the forest rangers and friends and others she came out to and turned into allies. Her legacy lives on in all of those people. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio, Ray Brook.
We have more news all the time and through the weekend on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Caitlin Scholl of Lake Placid and Patricia Julian of Burlington. Have a super weekend. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.